Microblading is a semi-permanent makeup style where we insert pigments of ink into your skin and give you a more natural look, yes, but we do away with doing eyebrow pencils. So it's a permanent look, although it does not last permanently. That's why I said it's a semi-permanent. Yes. So it cuts your time in half. You know how we ladies take so much time in our eyebrows.
Take the huge
the
chunk
longest,
of time.
yes. So if your eyebrows are done, you'll just do the rest of your face.
Thank you for tuning in to The Millionaire Mind. My name is Turife. Now joining us today we have a guest who's into the arts, but not exactly what you would think. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
So please introduce yourself and what you do.
Okay, my name's Martha Chege, but my friends call me Marita, including my social media. I'm a cosmetology trainer, or you could say a lecturer. But for now, I've branched out of that cocoon of lecturing and I'm freelancing, doing microblading, or what we like to call ombre powder brows. Yes.
So what exactly is microblading? Because I remember there was a time when it was newly introduced into the market, it was all the buzz, and we had a few horror stories, you know, but you know, it's a very new thing, especially for us.
Okay.
Could you please explain what exactly microblading and microshading is?
Okay, microblading is a semi-permanent makeup style where we insert pigments of ink into your skin and give you a more natural look, yes, but we do away with doing eyebrow pencils. So it's a permanent look, although it does not last permanently. That's why I said it's a semi-permanent. Yes. So it cuts your time in half. You know how we ladies take so much time in our eyebrows.
Take the huge chunk
the
of
longest,
time.
yes. So if your eyebrows are done, you'll just do the rest of your face. So we did this procedure was introduced to the market to try and reduce the time for women as they do their makeup. But it's semi-permanent because we wash our faces so much, so it cannot last long like a tattoo because we don't use ink, we use pigments.
Okay.
Yes.
So before we get into, I have so many questions because I have been thinking about getting it, but at the same time I have seen, you know, backfired stories. I have seen somebody who had, you know, an eyebrow that was not the shape of the initial, you know, eyebrow, and it looks just like two brows on one side. But how exactly, what's the difference between the ink and the pigment, and how long does the do the eyebrows last?
Okay, the difference between the ink and the pigment, like tattooing ink, when it's being inserted into your skin, it goes deeper. But with the pigments, we just scratch the uppermost layer of your skin. We just insert a few scratches as the ink is inserted into the skin. So in ink, it fades definitely. It turns green once it encounters with the blood. It turns green after a while. With the pigment, it lightens, then as it heals, it darkens and then takes that natural look on your eyebrows. And that's the difference between pigments and ink.
And how long do they last?
They last, a good service will last you to 5 years.
5 years?
5 years.
Without needing a touch-up?
No, with the retouch in between when necessary. Yes.
Okay. And how exactly did you get into the business? Have you always wanted to do it, or how did you come about it?
I have always been into beauty. That's why I said, in the beginning, I said I'm a cosmetology trainer. And then in the market, new things are always showing up.
Coming up.
And when you see the service, and then I am so into brows, especially. The eyebrows define the face. So if your eyebrows, as you said, are reclined or one is up, even if someone looks at you, will have that same expression like, why?
Why are you surprised?
Why are you surprised? So I got very enticed as seeing some, in the beginning people used to backfire a lot.
Okay, so now how do you justify the pricing? Because I think one of the things that actually deterred me from, you know, doing the process was the price. It was very expensive. Yes. But I've noticed that the price is becoming lower and lower over time. So now, why was it so high initially?
Because it was new to the market. Definitely, once something is introduced to the market, before it grows, it has to be overcharged. Because not many people knew about it, for starters. And then the ones who used to do it, they used to term it as a very big service. Ni kama unaenda unafanywa hii unanyolewa. They used to elaborate it and after they stretch it so long. But it's just a normal service. But the reason it's expensive, it's because even the products we use, like we have to use numbing creams, numbing gels during the service. The needles, they're not the normal needles for tattooing. And then we have the ink itself. Remember I told you it's pigment, it's not ink. It's a bit pricey. You find like one small bottle of 300 ml goes for like 5,500. And that's just the ink, and you're not using like one color. You have to combine, especially like for your skin type, we're gonna use brown and black to give it that natural look. So imagine if you're buying one bottle at 5,500. No jagaramia the needles, ujagaramia, the creams,
the time you're using.
And the time you're using, and plus you need extra things like the ring light, safe space for the client to be comfortable. So if you come and add up all these things, the service has to be expensive.
And now coming back to the technicians or the people who are actually performing this service, what training is needed, or is it a DIY thing? Is it something like, I'm a makeup artist because I taught myself on YouTube? So what is the proper time for you to undergo training? How long should it last? What establishments should you go to?
Okay, the training, it entails quite a ni refu, because mark you, this is something that is semi-permanent. It's something that is gonna be on someone's face for quite a long time. So the precision, and it has to be perfect, that's the word. So it entails mapping. You have to map, and by mapping, the arcs should be the same level. One eyebrow should not go higher than the other. And then the width or the unono ya brow, let me use that terminology. The broadness of the brow depends on the face of the client. I can't shade you the way I will shade another person. It all depends on the clientele's face. And then there's that time. It takes approximately up to almost 2 hours. Because remember, after you've mapped, you have to number for the pain to be minimal. Haitaisha kabisa, let me not lie. But it will be bearable for the client. Remember, kwenye nini iko the frontal bone, this is a bone. And even tattoo, those people who have gotten tattoos, where the bone is closer, the tattoo is painful. So you can imagine on the temporal bone. So what we do, we try and get these numbing creams to try and reduce the pain, to make the service more bearable for the client. So unaona, it's a whole process. You just don't go and start. Yes, you have to go through that training. You're told how to deal with a client, because some clients tend to cringe and freeze in between the nini. They start moving their face. Imagine you're doing a service and the client is moving. Your eyebrow itatokea vizuri. So that's why you find that it entails so many products, and it's a procedure that you have to be precise. Because remember, the service is gonna last for 5 years.
Exactly.
Yes.
So this is either 5 years of perfection or 5 years of damage.
Yes.
Okay. And you said it's a long process, so it's a form of artistry. So you personally, how do you approach it when a client comes to you? What are the first things you do? And are there things you tell them not to do beforehand?
Yes. Okay, the first thing I do, I assess the face of the client, the shape. People have different shapes. There are oval shapes, pear shape, triangle. You find a client has a thin face, so you assess the face of the shape, the shape of the face. And after you assess the shape, you look at the shape of the eyebrows. Kuna wenye wako na a low arc, some have very high arcs. So ukishaangalia hizo vitu, you can be able to even explain to your client, kama alikuwa anataka some very fat eyebrows, and then she has very thin, unaona utamwambia like, if I give you fat eyebrows, it will distort the shape of your face. So you assess the face first, you look, and then as you're assessing, you're also explaining to the client, hey, your face is pear-shaped. Your eyebrows are thin. So if you do this service and they give you very broad brows, I'll change the way. Remember, you want to keep that natural appearance of the brows. So you have to explain these things, you assess before you start anything. Then after assessing, you map. You have rulers. You map to make sure that the shape is consistent on both brows. Remember, they are not supposed to be twins, but they're supposed to be sisters. You can't be that perfect and you're going to achieve a twin look, but they're supposed to kind of look very much alike. Ndio usikae ni kama uso yako it's more balanced. Yes.
Okay. And before we get to the things that the client does before, you know, the process of microshading or microblading, what exactly do you do when you said sometimes you have a difference of opinion with the client, but at the end of the day, especially in your industry, the customer is always right. You know, you're like, maybe anajijua, maybe they really know what works for their face. Maybe you and your years of training, it's nothing. So now, how do you reconcile those differences of opinions in a way that's suitable for both? Do you sometimes say, you know what, if you've insisted so much, let's do this for you?
So what we do, if a client, kuna wale clients enyewe vichwa ngumu, they are always right enyewe. So what you do as the service provider, one thing, you know, remember, we always keep our mind realizing that this is a semi-permanent procedure. So if you mess, you can't correct it. True. So what we do, we start with a thin. Kama client anataka kitu nono, hautanaonesha to the size she wants first. Because if you've assessed her and you've seen that her brows are not meant to be that thick, but she's insisting, nataka bush, nataka kitu nono. So what you'll do, you'll start with a thin, yes, not natika line, but something substantial for her. If she does not approve it, utenda ukiongezea. But you have, you can't correct it once it's done. It's very hard to go back to the original. So you start small, you go growing it slowly until she's satisfied. Okay. Yes.
That's one way to do it. So now, talking about the things you prep before on the clients and what are the things they're not supposed to eat or consume, or how exactly do you tell them after they make an appointment? What things do they do in preparedness for the process?
There's not much to prepare for.
Even drinking coffee because of stimulation. We have heard all of this.
Alcohol.
Alcohol.
Yes, because of bleeding. You might overbleed during the service. Alcohol is the only thing we actually tell people not to consume. But the aftercare is where now things are.
Yes, aftercare.
Yes.
That's the bigger brunt of work for the client.
Yes, because remember, this is like a wound. You have tampered, you have opened the pores, number one, with your scratching of the skin, and then you're gonna wanna wash your face. This is a wound na ikona ink. What happens if ink interacts with water? It scabs. And remember, it's on your face. So what we do, we elaborate. Even if you're giving you aftercare, there's a cream we give you to apply only on your eyebrows every evening, because definitely it's a scar. So you have to take care of that scar. You're not supposed to touch it with dirty hands or let people ati umefanya microblading, let me see. You're not supposed to touch it with your hands, with water. You're supposed to keep that place very clean. Now imagine how washy, how you're gonna go about it.
So you have to disinfect it.
Yes, not disinfect, that aftercare covers it all. Ukifika jioni, you wash your hands. Before you sleep, just apply a little. And that is it. But remember, you're not supposed to wash your face. Kwa hivyo unapanguza na kawet for 2 weeks.
Wow. That's
so
a
lot. If you're a makeup person like we are, you can't do makeup.
For 2 weeks?
Yes, for 2 weeks. Unless you're doing your eyes without touching this part of your brow.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. That's really a lot. It's quite the investment. When it comes to you as the person providing these services, what safety measures do you take before, working on somebody?
Well, we disinfect you. Remember, this is an industry where we're using needles. So you have to be very careful. I can't use and use it on another person to reduce cross-infection. I have to wear gloves so because I'm coming into contact with your skin and you might bleed during the service. So there are those things you have to really be cautious because hata we mwenyewe, you don't know what this person is carrying. We glove ourselves, that at least it will protect you yourself. Needles, we use razor blades to shape the brow during the procedure. And if you decide to go in with concealer, there are those who are not perfect in mapping. So if you decide to go in with a concealer, that brush should not touch another client without disinfecting. So disinfection is very, very important during this service.
Okay.
Yes.
And what, first of all, how long have you been in the business for?
A funny thing, I've not been in it for so long because it's something that is getting into the market right now. I have done it for like apparently 4 months.
Wow.
But the reception, because if you're giving out good services, you will definitely have a clientele and your work will sell itself.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. And what would you say are the challenges you have faced so far?
Wow. The challenges are a lot because remember, there are clients who are very sensitive kwa uso. So even if you're using numbing creams, some will still feel that pain and they'll start moving their eyebrow. And if you're doing a service which you have to be a stern face, yani you're not supposed to be moving your eyebrows up and down, but the client is moving up and down, you will find yourself shading off. And if you shade off, you lose the shape.
Wow.
And if you lose the shape, the client will be angry.
Now
you can't come back and tell ulikuwa unasonga. You have to try. That's why we try and stretch the skin around the brow as you're doing, so that hata kama client ana move, the skin grip, you've gripped the skin. So the movement won't be that much. And then there was this time I kind of missed. I think it was my 3rd time doing it. You can confuse the color, the pigment color. So she was very dark and I used a lot of brown.
Wow.
So the color did not set really well. After some time, as it starts healing, it starts becoming lighter. No, it darkens first, then it becomes light, then it darkens again. Sasa after your scabbing imetoka. She comes and tells me, "Ay, unaona color." It's not showing. Already she's paid that money. So you have to redo it as a customer service.
Wow.
And that is
another
a dent
expense
on your side. Yes.
Okay. And what would you say is the things you require to start such a business? Is it a huge financial investment, or can you just, easily gather what you have and start easy?
Like for instance, there's like one microblading shop in Nairobi. And most of the times you go there, people are buying things from there, so they don't have the whole stock. That is a challenge. And then these things are expensive. As I said earlier, like a bottle of ink was for 5,500. And if you want to give a good service, you'll have to do those numbing creams. You'll have to buy the best needles zisikuvunjike katikati ya service.
True.
You have to buy those alcohol swabs to disinfect the client. The equipments are quite expensive, including the machine. That's why I think also the service is very expensive to give. Because imagine if you're starting, you have to start with approximately almost 25,000. Na iyo uja encounter, you need a bed or a seat, you need space. So the equipments themselves, they are very expensive.
Okay.
Yes.
And also, like on the flip side now, to happy thoughts.
To happy thoughts.
What would you say is the most rewarding aspect of your job?
Wow. I love looking at a client's eyebrows after the service and seeing the look on their face once you reveal to them what you've done, because they won't be seeing the procedure. Yeah, amelala hapo, very comfortable. when una sweat. So
You're
sometimes you
moving
kind of think ukianza, it needs patience because it's shading. So you'll keep on alternating and then going. Sometimes you find that the numbing cream has worn off. So she's feeling pain, you have to move to the next eyebrow. Na hujamaliza na ile shading ulikuwa unataka kutoa hapa. So when you finally see the end product, it's very satisfactory.
It's worth it.
Wow, you can even clap for yourself because
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just seeing the end product and then seeing that reaction on a client's face, saying, wow, this is nice. You hata wewe mwenyewe unasikia that warmth.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And this industry is always evolving. There's always a new trend coming up. There's always weird things that people want done to them. So now how do you stay up to date? What are the things you do that make sure hautakuwa mshamba when somebody comes to you?
Siri ni net. Siri ni net. Keep on Googling new things that come out. Nothing will ever stay the same. The market, especially the beauty market range, is so wide, and people are always coming up with inventions, shortcuts. Like kasa hii ni shortcut ya kukupunguzia your makeup time.
Yeah.
Yes. So people are always coming up with no kikaiva tuko gizani. Trust you, my friend, you'll mark time. So always be alert, see what's happening, look around. And then people, squeeze kila mtu anataka kupost kazi yake. So everything is out there.
Yeah.
You just be vigilant. Check out any new things that come out. Try and practice. Everything, especially beauty, is practice.
True.
Practice always makes perfect. Yes.
Okay. And where do you see, yourself in 4 to 5 years?
One thing I always even tell my friends, I love training, beauty especially. That's why I went for it, the whole course. So what I usually see myself doing is actually kind of opening my own college, God willing, where I can impact knowledge and then bring out new styles even myself. Yani sky nika we are always copying everything that's coming out. Yes, and impact that beauty knowledge, that cosmetology knowledge to those young girls out there, and show them still as you depending on someone.
True.
You can do this.
Awesome.
Yes.
And thank you so much for coming and telling us all about this and enlightening us. Some of us had myths that we were holding on to. So thank you for debunking those. As always, if you want to contribute to the conversation, the number is 0770-729-366. And right now, you thought we would leave you like this. Right now, we're going to switch gears and do a practical test, or rather she's going to actually show us the exact process of micro shading.